Welcome to Urban Fantasy PH. We are creatives who live in an urban society and give readers wish fulfillment by way of our stories, which is fantasy but reflective of reality. Here, we get to talk to fellow creatives like writers, authors, artists, comic book creators, filmmakers, you name it. We create and share our art here in the Philippines as well as abroad. My name is CJ Edmunds, I'm your host, and here is today's episode. Good morning, fellow bookworms, book hoarders, book lovers, and creatives. Wishing you all a bright and happy Wednesday once again. Today, we've got episode 45 of the podcast, and this marks the third of our Pride-centric episodes for this month of June. So everybody, happy Pride. Now, like always, during an ongoing season, the show is aired every Wednesday, both for Spotify as well as on my YouTube channel. You do have the option to listen to it or to watch us, and the choice I leave in your hands. But whether you're listening or watching, do click the subscribe button and ring the bell so you do not miss a single episode. Okay, all of our past episodes are at the ready for you to return to or listen chronologically if in case you are watching us and joining us for the first time. Our guest for today is a writer and indie film director responsible for many films such as Cabecera, First Ko Si Third, and Saan Nagtatago Is Happiness, of which that film in particular was one of the 8 finalists in the 2006 Cinema Live Philippine Independent Festival. Now, he's also the creator of the reality TV singing show Protege, Search for the Big Break, and was one of the creators behind the variety show Party Pilipinas. He produced Iska. This is a film in 2019 that won Best Sound, Best Script, and Best Actress in the Cinemalaya 2019 and competed as well in Bengaluru, Porto Viejo. This won Best Screenplay in Barcelona and Best Actress in Harlem. Now, he also created and directed an original series for I Want TFC, which is dubbed as the Ampalaya Chronicles, and this ranged from 2019 to 2021. There was also Tell Her in 2022, and this is a film that he produced and directed and won Best Feature in the Della Awards in Germany. Now, recently, he also worked as a producer and director for commercial feature projects such as Habang Buhay, Will You Be My Ex, and Kumusta Bro, the series. Now, his film, Everything About My Wife, is currently in post-production along with projects in development, and this also includes the comic that he created, of which we were going to be asking him more about later in the episode. All right. Now, it is always a pleasure and an honor to have a creative such as our guest today. Let's say hello and good morning to Mr. Real Florido. Hello, sir.
Hello, CJ. Good morning.
Hi. Good morning,
everyone.
Real. Yay. Good morning, Real, and welcome
Hi.
to Urban Fantasy PH. Now, welcome back. I know you had a fun trip from the pictures that I see in social media. It seems that you had so much fun. Was it more for pleasure or for work?
Both actually. The trip to Cannes, we
Mhm.
joined the Marché de Film Festival de Cannes. It's a marketplace for
Mm.
films internationally.
Ah,
So all the production companies all around the world gather there to buy and sell and create partnerships for distribution of their
mm,
movies. Yeah. So it was
cool.
fun, of course, kasi um, naman, film is like a love and hate type of uh, industry
Yeah.
where it's either you love it or you hate it or both. You're
Mm-hmm.
doing it, but there's so many things going on. But yeah, it's always fun to be in such activities. So
Great, great. I'm glad you had fun. I'm curious about the marketplace. You mentioned that that's where you look for distribution. But let's say, what if you don't have a finished film yet, and you're in the process of finishing that. You do have a script, but you're looking for a director or someone who can handle as well post production. Would a marketplace like that would also be a good place to look for people who you can collaborate with?
um, in most cases, markets like kasi merong market wherein you will actually pitch for your projects. You have to have a
Okay.
director.
All
So
right.
yeah, so if you have a script, yeah, you have to find a director, whether through Inuman or oh yeah, or yeah, referral, yeah. But usually in that kind of setup, you have to have a director and a producer in place. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in short, do a little bit of the legwork before you go to
Yes.
marketplaces
Yes.
like that. Yeah. I'm glad that you're able to do both. And speaking of work, I was wondering, how important is it for you as a creative to take breaks? I mean, we all would just love to do that in the middle of what we're doing. Just pack up and go, leave caution to the wind, whether that be just finishing a big project or in the middle of finishing it. How important is
Hmm.
it for you as a creative to take breaks?
You know, I okay. I don't treat creative work as work. It's like it's
Okay.
part of my life. So um, whenever and wherever I may be doing my work, I'm actually finding ways to enjoy it. Maybe it's just my process. This is
Mm-hmm.
more on a personal experience. Um, I've, I've been working in the industry for more than a decade now, maybe decades. Um, I think I've already assimilated myself, acclimated myself to the fact that it has to become part of your um, routine, your
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. Kasi if you treat it as a work, may burnout factor talaga. But if
Yeah.
you treat it as something that is really part of your daily life, I I think you will find ways on how to enjoy it, even at the most challenging times.
Mm-hmm.
Siguro at some point, my kind of work and the jobs that I had in the past uh, offered um, maybe privileges and opportunities to enjoy. Example, when I was working in GMA back in the days, we always travel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it means that you have opportunity to do sightseeing, to enjoy some moments. But it's up to you. Kasi if you don't do that, mababurn out ka talaga.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you miss out. Andiyan ka na eh, di ba?
Yes.
Like you're already in
Yes.
Rome, and you're
Yeah.
not gonna go by and
Yeah.
drop a coin at the
Yeah.
fountain of Trevi. What's
Yeah.
wrong with you?
That's right. So that's right. That's right. So you actually, your question actually made me think about it. Parang hindi pa ako nagbe-break ever. Kasi even the one that I had recently sa Cannes, it's actually for work. Kasi we've
Mhm.
been walking around all day. Like, imagine, Cannes kasi, di ba, it's uh, Riviera siya. So,
Yeah.
may mga buildings near the beach, ganyan. And the meetings happen at different places. And you have to jump from one place to another.
Yeah.
So, we start early morning, 9 a.m. meetings until 6 p.m. And then the thing is, just an example, no? Just to cite an example. So, we walk from one building to another, and it takes so much time to do that. And there's only one way foot traffic because there's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Imagine walking from kunyari Boracay, station 1 yung first meeting mo. Your next station would be station 4. And then your next meeting
God.
would be back at, so it's like that all
Yeah.
day. So we've been doing that for how many days? For 7 days. So that's really work. And I enjoyed it kasi para ako nagka-cardio. So even if
Right.
I eat a lot, I don't gain so much weight. But the thing is,
Right.
you have
Right.
to
And
find
you
ways
can
on how to
measure
enjoy
your
this
steps
moment.
as well if you have a watch.
Yes, yes, that's right. So you have to enjoy these moments, right? And but I guess yun nga where I'm coming from is it's kind of a privileged
Hmm.
position. Even back in the days, yun nga, sa GMA, when I was working there, we are able to travel all around the Philippines with the kind of work that I had there. So, meron talagang moment that you have to just take a pause and just, absorb everything that's going on around you. I think as a creative, it's important for you to find your spot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and may mga times, yes, when I was younger, yung sobrang inhit ako to travel, I really take time to, to book
Mm-hmm.
some flights going to different places for inspiration. I think it's
Agree.
really important. But I learned through time that you have to be able to really um, adjust
Mm-hmm.
and accept the fact that creative job, you bring it anywhere you go. So um, it's not the same as an office work wherein you work eight eight to five, and then you get burned out, and then I want my life back. I want to go. I want to travel. I want to have a break. No, I think as a creative, you don't retire,
Mm.
or you cannot feel, you will only feel burned out if you don't know how to manage um, your time and how to um, incorporate your kind of work in your lifestyle.
Agree, agree, agree.
Yeah.
How I wish that we had time management classes back in the day, so that when we become grown-ups, we know how to do that, diba? So can
That's
we,
right. That's right.
DepEd, paging DepEd, pakilagay naman ng time management
Yeah.
course 101. Sa
We
grade
only learned
school,
that
ha?
through necessity, through
Oh yeah.
experience.
True,
Yeah.
true. And I loved your answer when you said that you've sort of like assimilated and recognized yourself as a creative, because sometimes there is this sort of like out of body experience still for some creatives, I guess, and we're not an exception. That I am a creative. I do accept that this is what I do, but at the same time, I also have to to take a break. So I guess it's moving, it's like a needle that that will go from one way or the other. How much do I feel I've done much of and I needed to sort of like recharge, or do I also feel that I haven't done enough and I still have to keep on going, 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 going? Yeah. But of course, when our body will exact the price on us as how we do things creatively, that's the time that we need to listen. And listening to ourselves, let's say like our inner child, our conscience, if you will, to use the analogy of a certain advertisement, is something that we creatives must do. So from your own point of view, let's say as a filmmaker, how important is it for you to listen to that inner voice that
Mm,
tells you to do things, whether it's to, let's say, accept a project for others, or maybe to undertake one for yourself?
yeah. Hmm. Okay, I'll be very, very honest about it. In the recent years, I haven't been doing projects that I think is my true voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like in terms of movies, I mean, but these movies are um, movies that I love. So I recently made one, of course, yung Cinemalaya. That's kind of like a project that I really wanted to do. Yung Bakit Di Mo Sabihin with Janine Gutierrez and JC De Vera. They played the role of deaf couple. So
Mm.
I really wanted to do that because it's a thesis on communication for me. But other commercial projects that I did recently, it's not as it is kind of like um, I can say I just settled to do it
Mm-hmm.
because the team needed to do it. But I
Okay.
love doing it. I mean, so there are instances where I, as a creative and as a filmmaker, I'm not able to really do something that is um, that is being demanded by my inner voice. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that these projects are not good enough, or these projects um, I don't want to do, because I did all of these projects with love and passion.
Right.
So there are times when I think marami ring nakaka-relate, and yung iba baka they can say, hey, kailangan ko ng trabaho or yun yung
Yeah, yeah.
meron.
You'll have
So
to have that,
yeah,
'di ba? Parang you have to have that
yes,
metric on how to choose. Okay,
yes,
mauna
yeah,
muna ang trabaho or my passion project first, or
correct,
maybe I can do
correct.
both if I can, 'di ba?
Yeah, that's
Yun.
right, that's right. So there are times when you will have, maybe most of the times, because this is our livelihood, and I think a lot of filmmakers or practitioners will be able to um, relate to this. Uh, there will be times when you will just do something because you have to do it,
Mhm.
but as of course, I'm in a position wherein I have to be the voice, the final voice to call the final shot, the bigger voice to call the final shot of
Mhm, mhm.
certain project. So I really have to really align it with what I believe in and what my gut is telling me.
Okay.
And I don't have to just be um, very, um, what word is that? Yung, you know, para lang okay na, sige, I'll do it.
Mm.
No, you really have to have your touch in it. You have to have your worldview on something, even if it's, you know, uh, uh, you know, uh, maybe they will say that no, it's a run of the mill rom com. Maybe
Mm.
for others, it's what they're seeing. But in my position, if I'm the one doing it, I have to have my worldview on it.
Okay.
I will not just do something because uso siya or because
Yeah.
in demand siya. But I
Right.
have I have to believe in it. I have to
Mhm,
believe
mhm.
in what the material is saying and what do I want to say as a storyteller. I think that's really, really important. And that's rooting from my experiences and from where I stand as a human being, and if I think it will impart something good to the audience. And um, yeah, so I think importante yon. And
Mhm. It
that's
can't be,
that's
it cannot be
bigger.
done just for the sake of, right?
Yes, yes, and you have
Yeah.
to listen to your inner self, diba? And
Right, right.
to
Well,
your curious child or
yeah,
whoever is
yeah, yeah.
inside you.
Exactly, exactly. Whether you name them or not, as long as you listen to them.
Yeah.
I guess what you've done, it does show in your evolving body of work. And
Mhm.
while there are no two projects that are similar, although they might be similar in structure and in some form or way. But I was wondering what kind of script usually attracts your attention and
Mm.
prompts you to undertake it as a film project.
Yeah. Um, Now I'm more keen on really being adamant on pursuing what I really want, the kind of story that I really want to tell, and
Hmm.
I think these are stories that may be a slice of life but resonates so much to a lot of people. Example, I'm really going back to my core. When I first made my debut film, First Crusader, it's really about the horrors of retirement. It's
Mm.
about that, and I'm wondering about that. I was just mid 20s when I did it, so it's my curiosity about it, no, and then it became something that um, resonated so much nostalgia to a lot of people, and yung iba naman they wonder about what their lives would be. So parang for me, a simple slice of life story that can bring so much to the
Hmm.
audience, that can touch people's lives. So um, yun yung mga type of story that I'm really keen on doing.
Okay.
There's no small or really big, because like I mean, example, there are filmmakers who you can call, oh, to epic director to,
Mm.
ito ano to, love story director to. I
Hmm.
cannot identify myself in that kind of
That
style
kind
of
of classification,
categorizing
yeah. You
people.
prefer
Yes,
not to be boxed in like that.
yeah,
Okay, I get it.
because I'm looking at stories that whether it requires big scale production or even small scale production, basta it you know it um, it pokes my heart, and it
Mhm.
tells something to me, and it's the material is communicating to you, and it's aligning with what you want to tell. And I think I'll do it. So now I have a couple of projects na talagang inaalagaan, and these are projects na malayo na dun sa past uh, past projects that I did just
Mhm.
recently.
Right. Usually, when people say, director, the perception is that okay, the director's in charge of obviously shooting the film. He's in charge of putting people together, or the people that he thinks that he can work with. But sometimes people also forget that a director is also a storyteller. So I was wondering, from the way that you present your answers, I feel that as a director you do feel yourself as a storyteller. And did you always want to be a director?
Yeah, I think a director should be a storyteller. It's not the usual, I think before parang technical lang siya and
Yeah.
mostly, 'di ba? But I've learned through time that you have to be a really good storyteller in in this chosen field, or I think in any way din kasi um, there's stories in all around us.
Hmm.
So um, and kahit sino naman makilala mo, they tell you a story.
Yeah.
And you know sometimes you get interested with a person because of the story that this person is telling you. Or sometimes when you're riding a train or a public PUV, o di ba nasa jeep ka, you're being entertained by what you're hearing from other people because of the good story that
Yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
telling, di ba? And I think it's human nature to be storytellers. So yes, a film director is a storyteller that uses visuals
Hmm.
and the power of sound to tell a beautiful story, beautiful human stories. But growing up, I never really thought that I would be a director one day.
Okay.
But I love reading at home kasi
Yeah.
boring yung buhay natin before. Anything that I can read, I will read it. Except for
Yay.
we don't have tabloids in the house, so hindi kami exposed sa tabloid
Hmm.
when I was young. I grew up in a very very small, simple home, but I'm so thankful that um, my 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 grandparents are readers. My uncle uh, loved loved reading. He already passed, but my uncle, his name is Borek. He's
Hmm.
actually my first mentor when it comes to maybe life and also film. Kasi I
Hmm.
can remember back in the days, mga VHS pa to,
Oh
during
God. Yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
times. Yeah. Wala pang CD.
Oh, atrasin
We
mo pa,
always have,
Betamax naman.
wala naman kaming Betamax, VHS lang. So, um, we I always get to watch movies, especially mga movies na hindi pinapalabas dito
Hmm.
from with him, kasi siya talaga yung naghahanap ng mga magagandang pelikula. He introduced me to the world of cinema. He's I can remember nung bata pa ako, he brought me to the cinema to watch Ghostbuster. Uh,
Mm.
yeah, I can remember that. And but still during that time, I'm not really imagining myself to become um, a film director or someone who will be working in the film industry, because I
Hmm.
don't know. It's like a profession that that's not as sexy as other money making professions
Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
were brought up to to look forward to, if after college, or dapat ano ka, nurse ka or doctor ka or you're an engineer, di ba? That's the
Hmm.
usual
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
So I think I just um, grew up to become um, person who loves reading, who loves watching movies, and um, um, appreciating life experiences. Kasi
Hmm.
back in the days, if you can remember, maraming brownout. So,
Yep.
so boring yung buhay. So, ginagawa ng uncle ko pag nasa bahay kami, pinoproject niya yung meron siyang what do you call this? Viewmaster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have a Viewmaster. So, what he did, I can remember, pina-flashlight niya yung Viewmaster. And then naka-project siya sa wall. So, we have our
Nice.
cinema at home.
Yeah.
And maraming kwento, and even sometimes, even radio dramas. Dahil, alam mo yun, you have to do something to do at home, di ba? So, lahat na lang yan ginawa namin. So, I grew up doing all these things out of boredom and out of necessity, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think these experiences really uh, enrich me or influence me to, or prep me up, I don't know,
Right, right.
to what I'm doing now.
Exactly. You said that you were introduced to reading earlier on. Curious, what were the kind of books that were there in the house
Mm.
that prompted you to read?
Mga novels, actually, we have The Good Earth, How to Kill a
No Pearl is Buck.
Mockingbird. Oh, yeah,
The
yeah, this kind of
classics.
book. Yes, yeah. I even read Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Oh my gosh.
And we also have a lot of Goosebumps books.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
Even Bob Ong was introduced to me by my uncle. Aba, nakakabasa na pala ako. We have a lot of comics. Comics is really part of my childhood. I can remember, but maybe just briefly because I think it went out of fashion for uh, when I was growing up as a teenager. I haven't seen really so much Filipino comics. Pero when I was younger, when I was started to learn how to read, um, we are encouraged to read comics. Um, mga Pinoy comics, mga shocker, mga
Hmm.
like that. Um, Also, I think I've seen some Liwayway magazine, but these are very, very old. Yung
Right,
parang
right.
naka-file lang dun sa office table. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. For kids who are watching and listening, you're wondering, what are these things that they're talking about? So do your research. Research on Viewmaster
No,
and
you know what?
Liwayway.
I'm surprised. I think there's still Liwayway today.
Parang meron pa, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Maybe not as regularly released as
yeah,
before, but who
yeah.
knows? Was there ever maybe a film perhaps that sort of planted the idea in your mind that being a filmmaker sounds interesting too?
Mm, yeah. I think there's because madami like um
Sige, madami
go
mag-overtime tayo 1 hour and a half.
no no because when I was a kid, yung I think part of really nurturing my imaginative side was
Hmm.
with um doing what I've seen in the movies, like kunyari, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So we're playing that in the house,
Yeah.
or um, sometimes, syempre, yung mga superhero movies, di ba?
Oh yeah.
We grow up watching these movies, so it really encouraged you to imagine things. But I
Hmm.
think one movie that really um, mesmerized me, and um, parang it kind of talked to me, and
Okay.
yeah, I think it's American Beauty, although it's very American. but I think
Yes.
it's different in many ways. Um, of course, during that time, lumabas na din naman yung mga magagandang pelikula Pilipino na um, uh, na before there's a lot of Western movies, diba? So ito yung
Yeah.
usually, I mean, the Filipino movie industry naman and the audience, even before naman, puro mga Western yung napapanood natin, puro
Yeah.
Hollywood movies. Diba?
Right.
Um, so, yeah, I think American Beauty is one because of I love how the script was written. I love how it sounded to my ears. Also, Life is Beautiful is something
Hmm.
that
Which won the
I
Oscar.
truly loved when I was young. So ito yung mga kind of movies before,
Right.
you know,
Uh,
before I became more immersed into
mhm.
filmmaking.
Another one that I would like to add to your list, and probably it is in your list, Cinema Paradiso.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I've seen it as a student na of film, but
Ah,
not in the house. Kasi parang
okay.
well, we're in the context of, the movies that I've seen in
Right,
our
right.
houses. Ito yung dalawang movie that I think was very important to me when I was growing up as a teenager.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And they're great films, Oscar-winning
Yes.
films,
Yeah.
and that's a plus. Admittedly, as creatives, we're ruled, if not greatly influenced by emotions. It's our fuel. But what happens if we run out of fuel? So
Mhm.
what do you do then? I was wondering what lifts you up and sort of like reminds you, or if not, maybe rekindles in you that passion as a creative in those days when you don't feel like being one, and you just want to lay under a big umbrella and sip your martini and just look at the sun.
Well, makes me wonder your question because I think we are constantly in it. I'm constantly in it.
Hmm.
Example, I've been writing a script since 2008 and I've been revising it over and over and over again until today. Hindi ko pa natatapos yung final script. Although I finished like a draft and
Hmm.
then I will rewrite everything all over again.
Ah,
So imagine that's 2007. It's
right.
2024.
So
So
how many revisions then?
I don't know. I've been revising it every year. So um, I think it's a constant battle to really tune in yourself to something as
Hmm.
a creative, as a storyteller. You really have to be intensely tuned in to what you want to tell, but sometimes it's
Okay.
not coming out. Maybe out of, because you don't have a deadline, or sometimes if
Hmm.
you have a deadline, whatever it is that you feel, that's it. Because sometimes your first take on things, your
Hmm.
first impression on things, that's really powerful. Sometimes the knee jerks are okay,
Yeah.
but sometimes but for me it's a cheat sheet. Like if there are moments wherein you you feel like ubus ka na,
Hmm.
whatever you feel first, that's it. But of course, you
Okay.
have to really look inside you and understand and talk to yourself and try to really find your footing, find a position on
Hmm.
a strong position, a strong opinion on something.
Hmm.
I think that's important to ask. I think I've learned this through time, through all these conversations, all these movies, all this talk with different artists, all these workshops that I've attended. I think it's really important as a human being to have a strong opinion on something, and that gives you a strong emotion. So I think it's a compass for me.
Hmm.
Like of
Hmm.
course, like in the heat of the day, example, um, you're shooting something and everyone's tired and you want to get this right. Even your actors are tired. Everybody lahat pagod na yan. Important that you identify the strong opinion that you have and that your actor may have. in the
Mm-hmm.
scene, and that will give you really something powerful. Sometimes you can, if you cannot get it from yourself, you get it from other people.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess a cheat sheet would be, asking, what's my
Mm-hmm.
position on this? What is my strong opinion on this? Kasi
Mm-hmm.
as human beings, we always have opinion on something.
Oh yeah.
Kahit ano yan, kahit ano yan.
Everybody's a critic.
Yes. So I think that will really squeeze out, emotions. And
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah,
it's a
up
tricky
to
one.
the up to the last drop, up to the last drop.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's just one question I've asked among a previous guests that I've had so far, and that being a creative, most of the people see is just the finished product. So they
Mhm.
don't see or know about the struggles that we go through as creatives in order to bring our respective projects to light and fruition. They don't know how we second guess ourselves. They don't know how we doubt our capability to tell, to write, and present a story. And for everything that we go through as creatives, there is an amount of bravery. I feel that's involved. So I was wondering for you, may correlation ba between bravery and creativity, and what would your take be on it?
Yeah, you always have to be that brave person to be out there to tell a story. Kasi, sometimes um, it takes so much courage and so much passion to tell something so powerful. Eh. Um, you battle so much voices in you. Diba, there are a lot of, again, we as human beings, we have strong opinions on things. But as a storyteller, you have to really have uh, a one line to walk on
Mm-hmm.
to be able to deliver your message. So, ang hindi nakita ng iba yung process on how you battle you battle it
Right.
out with
Yeah.
yourself on ano ba
Exactly.
yung sasabihin ko, tama ba to? Um, may point ba ako? Will people
Mm-hmm.
listen to me? Is this important? Um, para saan ba to? Uh, okay lang ba to? You
Mm-hmm.
ask so many questions
Yeah.
to be able to say something, to do something. Um, and sometimes it's really taxing. It's, exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Iba pa yung when you go outside of yourself, like communicating what you want to say, communicating it to other people. So, parang ibang battle pa yun, diba? So,
Agree.
yeah, and especially in our line of work. For example, in my work as a director, you have to be able to um, not just understand your project, the story
Mm-hmm.
that you want to tell, but also how you're going to be able to make the people around you, your coworkers, everybody in the set, to understand your vision,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to be in line with you, to uh, to be to have the same vision as you have. I think yun yung challenge most of the time na parang paano ko ba ipapaintindi sa kanila na uh, this is not a comedy, and the comedy
Mm-hmm.
will just come out naturally because it's a comedy about life, that this is
Mm-hmm.
not a slapstick comedy, that this is actually a comedy of errors, that sometimes when you hear about it you will just laugh even if it doesn't seem like it's something to be
Mm-hmm.
laughed about, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
So maano kasi 'di ba, parang may ang mga tao kasi madaling mag-shortcut eh. So challenge sa atin yung paano ko 'to i-communicate sa kanila. Paano ko masisigurado na lalabas yung vision ko
Mm-hmm.
of this project. So ang daming mo kailangan intindihin, and then of course people have a lot of issues with themselves, amongst themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Diba?
Yeah.
There's politics of things, there's egos to handle. So, ang daming ganong factors. Um, and at the end of the day, you will be the one to carry the all the burden of of people's um, harsh comments on your projects, um, kasi hindi nila nakikita yung side na yun. Of course,
Mm.
but you don't have to explain to them, and it's all part of our work as a creative. So I
Yeah.
think that's
It's part of our creative process. I use the word brave because normally one wouldn't associate that particular adjective with being a creative, and so it's overlooked. But most especially now during this month of identity and pride, of course, it seems to fall on members of the LGBTQIA plus community to even be braver when they share their work, and especially when we share parts of ourselves to the public. When you hear comments about, let's say, the work that you've accomplished, and they don't seem to be agreeing with what you presented, or if not your own vision, how do you handle that? As running, can you give advice on fellow creatives who are having a hard time dealing with criticism?
that's hard. It's really hard to manage. But I think you have to give it to yourself if you feel like this is what I do. If I feel like I'm hurt, I will say okay, ouch. But then
Mm.
again, I will read it again over and over and over again, and I will try to understand why. Um, I will not blame myself, but
Hmm.
I will look into um, the the question why differently. Like, ano kaya yung kulang dun sa
Hmm.
ano kaya yung hindi tumatawid?
Right.
Ano kaya yung hindi nila na-gets? Rather than be full of myself, thinking na mga hindi ko kasi gets. Ayun nga yung problem, hindi nila na-gets eh. So, the problem is the message or how
Yeah.
the message was delivered. So, I will just ask myself why. And it's okay. But sometimes, syempre, masasaktan ka, but it's okay. Give it to yourself. Na, okay. Hindi naman nila alam kung gaano kahirap to gawin eh. But I will not tell them na, kayo nga gumawa ng movie. Parang ganyan. Parang, hindi
Hmm.
naman nila pinili yun. They're just audience. It's okay. But I think, um, yung the way to handle it really is to look into the comments objectively, even if sometimes people do not know how to write proper English or proper sentence or proper respectful words. They don't.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not know how to do that. So it 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 most of the times appears so disrespectful of what you do. Um, it's okay. Just feel the hurt, pero konti lang, and then move on.
And then
Just
move on
look
to the
into
next.
move on to ano kaya hindi nila na-gets objectively, like baka too abstract, but some people get it naman. uh, I think baka kulang yung development ng character. So sometimes I really read through all these comments
Hmm.
because I really want to understand how to communicate with people, and that's where I stand as a storyteller. I really want to know how effective I am in my purpose of telling a beautiful story to people. If I've touched their lives, or if I've uh, reminded them of something, even just a little, I think it's okay. I don't want them naman. I mean, of course, we want to be praised, and we want to, get accolades, or get rave reviews. We want that. We want that for our ego. We want that for marketing. We want that, for buzz.
Hmm.
But
True.
going back, I have to go back to my purpose. What is your purpose? Why are you doing this? You're a storyteller, and as a storyteller you want to tell stories, but what kind of stories? Me, I always want to tell something that will touch people's lives, and inspire them to do something good for the better, or something good for themselves, or something good for others. I want them to feel good about themselves. I want them to feel good about their lives. So if I'm able to do that, I think I'm fulfilling my purpose. But if with a certain comment, it doesn't seem like I'm not fulfilling that purpose, maybe I
Hmm.
have to do something about it. the
Hmm.
next time. There's always a next time.
Yeah, true.
Sun will always shine tomorrow. The
And
sun.
there's also I guess the day when this particular reader or viewer went to see your film, they might not
That's
also
right.
be in in that time mind frame to watch it,
Yes.
diba?
Yeah.
Parang,
Yeah.
they're watching your film, which is a drama, but in their heart of hearts, I got vetoed by my girlfriend because I wanted, she wanted to watch this. I wanted to watch a superhero film, so I'm not in the mood, but I have to watch it because she likes it. Parang ganun. So
That's
there's
right.
also a lot of factors into that.
That's right.
But
That's right.
bottom line is, if you are satisfied with your vision, and you feel that you've presented your vision to the best of your capabilities, that should really be, that's all there is to it, diba? And if people don't seem to agree with that vision, then that might also be an element that's out of your control, and you can't feel bad
Hmm.
too much about it, because it's out of your hands. So now
Yeah.
that we know that, as a creative, we need to be brave, let's move on to another medium that we can show our bravery on. You do have a comic that's entitled Badinger Z and the Akla Assassin. Your shirt says so much about what you already. Diba? I came across the comic early this year, during the first comic end of the year in Eton Center. So I was looking for you. I was like, oh, who's the author? Wala siya dito. But nonetheless, when I saw the standee and I read the synopsis, I knew I had to get a copy. So, without spoilers, can you give our audience a brief summary of what it is and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah. So Badingersi is about a teenager
Hmm.
who discovered that he is Badingersi. He's not a normal person.
Yes.
And the Badingersi is a rainbow surfing, flamboyant, uh, budding superhero. Yeah. It is inspired by a stage play that we did back in college.
Mm.
So I developed it into a comic book. The same title did siya, Badinger Z, but I developed the character. So it's now a different character. Inspired lang siya by the original stage play, but now it's developed into a different character. Um, and yeah, I've always wanted to create a superhero character, but I wanted to be someone that will represent
Hmm.
uh, people, and I think it's high time that uh, some members of, because the LGBTQ is a spectrum. It cannot represent everybody, but it represents. But in Gersi, he represents some members of the LGBTQ community.
Correct.
So I've been thinking about that dati pa. At least siguro personally, someone who can represent me. Like example, Shasha Saturna is really a beautiful super heroine character, but I don't feel like Shasha represents me.
Hmm.
She may be representing some members of the side in the same way that Bading Gersi might be representing some members of the LGBTQ.
I get
Um,
it. I get it.
yeah. So it really inspired me to, kasi pwede namang may iba pa eh.
Mm-mm.
May, may mga drag, di ba? May mga ibang type of visualization and characterization. But I feel like it can the story of Bading Gersi will be able to mirror some issues that a lot of teenagers are facing right now.
Hmm.
Those who are confused, those who are being marginalized, those who are being pushed aside, those who are being bullied, those who are being taunted.
Yeah.
Many issues. I think sometimes it takes, um, sabi mo nga, bravery to really jump into it.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
also my way of understanding the community personally. So it's very personal to me.
All right.
Yeah.
A lot of readers, for sure, reading the comic will find some of the scenes in the comics very much relatable, and that's really earlier on what you said, how you present yourself as a storyteller, that you want to get slices of life and present that in a medium to kind of like remind people about their childhood or maybe about their innocence. One of the scenes that I find very relatable was like coming home to your parents and missing their cooking, right? And this is at the beginning of the comic after his graduation, because it's he missed his mom's cooking, and you know how our moms cook, they always cook with love, and that's the secret ingredient that no mom will ever tell you what goes on to their respective cookings. And because it's also nearing lunchtime, let me ask, is there always that one dish that you always love coming home to and cannot get enough of when you go back to family?
Yeah. In our house, kasi our house is owned by my grandparents. So
Okay.
most of the time, it's my lola who cooked, and she passed recently.
Oh,
Um,
I'm sorry to hear that.
I will, yeah, yeah. So, I
My
will
condolences.
always, yeah. Thank you. I always look forward to her pastel, to
Mm,
my lola's
mm.
pastel. Yeah. So marami naman niluluto, like of course the usual sinigang, di ba, nilaga, but it's always the pastel that I think is so special. Um, that in recently I asked my lola before she died. I think last year, sabi ko, bakit hindi ka na nagluluto? Ah, tinatamad na daw siya. Sabi ko, I miss your pastel. Sabi niya ganun. Sabi ko sa kanya. I think it will always remind me of home. And a lot of people naman, di ba, we always have that food that, brings us back home,
Yeah,
makes us feel loved, makes us feel comforted.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, I agree. So next time, baka hindi lang graphic novel, baka may cookbook ka na. Moving forward, who knows, right? Diba?
Yeah.
Slices of home, diba? Or a collection of recipes from your family that you want to share with people, or maybe in include a character in forthcoming issues na mahilig magluto at tapos paglulutuan siya. Uy,
Meron dyan, di ba, yung
pwede.
karinderya.
Yeah,
Merong,
yeah, yeah.
merong setting na pansiteria dyan.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
True, true. And syempre, since slice of life, hindi po pwedeng walang marites. Meron
Yeah.
dyan. Meron dyan. May marites dyan. Di mawawala sa buhay yan.
Yeah.
But you know what? Regardless of the medium that you choose, real life will obviously be an inspiration and touchstone as a creative, and that's the reality of life. And the reality of life now is that it is Pride Month, and everyone's journey is different. There are those who've found themselves already, and they're
Mhm.
celebrating who they are, while there are others who are still on the journey to find themselves. So,
Mm.
in the process of finding oneself, people look to, let's say, creative work to find some sort of affinity, if not representation. So I was wondering, how important was representation for you when you were writing this comic? You said that not since the LGBTQI is a spectrum, not everybody can represent it in a fixed body of work. You will have little nuggets of representation for each and every member of the community if you really want to be as diverse as a creative like that. But how important for you was when you were creating the comic, to feel that this character has to represent at least somebody in the
Mhm.
community, so that at least they feel that the work is authentic and the work would at least speak to them as a reader.
Yeah. Well, first, it came from my personal experiences as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in a society where gays are visually categorized as very flamboyant, nasa parlor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
cross-dresser,
All right.
nagme-makeup,
That's a
comedic,
stereotype. Yeah.
stereotyping. So I grew up very, very confused because I don't feel like I have to be in these places. I don't want to wear makeup. I don't want to cross-dress. Um, but I am what I am. But
Mm-hmm.
what am I, and where's my place in this world, di ba? Um, so ultimately, I think from the title itself, I want a child to be very to own it,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
regain power when they're being called Badingersi kasi ginagamit siyang pantukso eh Badingersi yan. So, if someone calls a child Badingersi, he will be or she will be very proud of it because there's a
Yeah.
superhero that represents what he can be or what she can be. Yeah. So, yeah, I think isa yun sa strongest na um, the strongest message that the book that I want to really tell people through this book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and madami pa akong message dyan na talagang, alam mo yun, parang nilalabas ko siya through this comic book with, say for example, um, in the issues to come, uh, it, the, tackle dyan yung pagiging superhero niya, but he's gay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
people love him because he's a superhero. And
Right. Right.
then something happened, and then they will lynch, and then they will do a witch hunt against gay people.
Mm-hmm.
So the disparity and the duality of mankind on just because he's a superhero, they love him, diba?
But they
Pero
can't love him totally because of another
yes,
aspect to
yes,
him.
that's right.
Right. Right.
So ang madaming issues na discuss dun sa book, and um, I think it represents a lot of struggles, a lot of challenges, a lot of hardships that a lot of members of the society of LGBTQI uh, are facing right now. So,
Mm-hmm.
importante that our stories are being represented as well. Not the usual sidekick, punchline,
Yeah.
uh, comedy type of personality that people think we are. Kasi parang usually yun yung position
Yeah.
in like in a table. You have, pag gay ka, you have to be the life of the party, you have to be the punchline, or you have
Mm-hmm.
to be, really loud, and it's a stereotype idea, but we're people. We're the same human being as everybody else is. So um, importante that we are being represented in whatever media platform or in even in mainstream media especially.
Yeah.
So it's it's um it's my quest to do that. Yeah.
And it's a noble quest, and it's one that I'm sure will resonate throughout the community as the issues come out. This is issue number one, so it begs the question: when is the next issue coming out?
Yeah, it should be. It should have.
Sorry to put
Yeah,
pressure.
no, it's okay. Um, uh, the pressure is okay because it's exciting.
It's part of the
It
process.
adds.
It's part of
Yeah,
the work.
it's part of the process. Should be out by July supposedly, but I think it
Hmm.
will be delayed a bit. But the target is to really finish everything this year. So
Okay.
the whole story of Badingersi and the Akla Assassin should be out before 2000 before 2024 ends. Yeah, ideally, hopefully.
Ideally. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
but the
At
second is
very
already.
least within the
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will be on the lookout. And since I am I joined Comic Cat a lot, so makikita ko na lang siya doon. Issue number
Yes.
two.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
hopefully one of those days when I do am there when I am there and if I'm not busy minding my own table, you would be there to sign my copy and other copies that I get.
Definitely, CJ. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So we're sort of like nearing the end of the episode, and this is where I usually ask craft questions of our creatives. And I was wondering, how do you what's the biggest lesson or wake up call for you that you've learned in being a creative that you would want to impart on other creatives?
Biggest wake up call.
Yeah.
I think most lives took turns during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I almost gave up on doing this on
Okay.
because I think out of necessity, I feel like this is something that you know that is not necessary. But then again, I realize it is necessary because um, during the hardest of times, especially during the pandemic, we're faced with boredomness, loneliness,
Mm-hmm.
and a good story is actually a companion. So
Yes.
that's where you can come in as a creative.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find ways on how to thrive and how to give life back to life because I can, you can imagine the staleness of moments and the stillness of moments, the staleness and stillness of moments during that time, diba? And it's like, what's going on? Nothing's happening. And even personally, you ask that to yourself. And then I realized that I have to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a way for me to create life, even if, to give life back to this very gloomy moment. I don't think it's the messiah complex in a storyteller, but it's really rooting from this deep desire to this fire inside you as a creative
Mm-hmm.
to be alive, to feel that we are all alive even if it doesn't feel like we're all living. I mean, di ba that moment parang
Yeah.
are we still living? What's
Ex-
going on?
exactly. Exactly.
Nothing's happening.
It's a
So
standstill. That's
it's a
literally,
standstill. Nothing's happening. So
yeah, the month that the Earth stood still. Hindi na day. It's
yeah,
the month that
yeah.
during the
So
lockdown.
that was a big wake up call for me because
Mm-hmm.
I was at the brink of really giving up. Like really, I think sa ibang bansa naman okay lang. I can apply for whatever job. I can,
Mm-hmm.
sa Philippines nothing's happening, and the industry is really on a, parang it's really going down the drain. So, but then again, there is this fire inside me that told me that you have to do something and you have to come up with something, even if it's not, in the usual manner that you've been doing it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something. So that's when I was able to do a live stream BL kasi nauso yung BL that time.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it kind of like bankroll, rolled back my energy as well and getting it from other people who are also interested to do something.
Yeah.
So, as a creative, I think it is important for you to be in touch with other creative as well. To, you have to come together, you have
Mm-hmm.
to share, you have to connect. And I think that's what I did during that time. And then it pushed me back to life personally. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I was able to also impart to other people's struggle to come out of you know this dark era where whatever they're experiencing at that moment. So um,
It's that
I
it's
think
it's building that bridge, building that connection,
yeah,
and knowing that other people are going through the same thing as you are. You know that
that's
you're not
right.
alone in it,
That's right. Yeah.
and doing that builds community. Is there a specific time of day wherein you feel more productive? Panggabi, pang araw, pang tanghali?
Sometimes when I was younger, I feel like it's the nighttime because I
Yeah,
can only hear my voice. But there are times when I feel more productive when I'm so exhausted. So it's actually yung parang kung kailang pagod na yung physical body mo.
yeah.
Everything's just trying to, all your creative juices is just trying to come out. So I take advantage of that. But I think it's also discipline. You have to
Mhm.
give yourself time. Uh, like in the morning, I guess it's really, one of the most productive.
Mhm.
But for me, and I think marami rin na ganito na creative, yung exhausted ka na, but you can still give something.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, that's in terms of my writing process.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there will be times when I feel like when I'm in the zone, I can already do it. So you
Okay.
just have to find that zone, and sometimes finding that zone is
Is another
hard.
challenge in itself. Yes,
You
exactly,
have to,
exactly.
do a lot of things, read, watch, read whatever videos, and then
Yeah, para lang
you will just
ma-jumpstart, 'di ba? Parang
yes,
parang
yes,
kotse, 'pag mahina yung battery,
yeah,
maghahanap ka ng ibang battery ng kotse, kailangan may
that's
cable
right.
ka.
You know,
I-jumpstart mo lang para aandar yung
yes,
kotse mo, 'di ba?
yes. And what I do, this is the trick that I do. Um, I write in broken words,
Hmm,
broken phrases,
okay.
like just letting my ideas flow. Siguro it's more of honoring what your process is.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't have to be polished. You respect that, even if it looks ugly. Disney people, Pixar people call it the ugly babies. You just let it out,
Yeah.
write it,
Even
do
if it's
it,
bullet
sketch
point
it.
lang, okay lang 'yan basta
Yes,
may ano.
yes. Sometimes nga ako ano lang numbers lang one, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6, 7, and then I do again. Like example for this comics, so it has to be in pages and in panels.
Yeah.
So I write the numbers muna, and then I write the panels, and then okay, now what's next? Nothing. Okay, nothing. And then when I think of like an idea, I write it down. So until mabuo siya, it will build to that. So you have to recognize that you have to take note of these ideas because
Mhm.
you may never know it. If it feels good at that moment,
Yeah.
you hold on to it, and then later on, parang it feels like it should be something else. I mean, it will
Mm.
evolve, and it's part
Oo.
of the process.
And that's where
So
the
it
editing
really,
comes in.
yes, it really helps me in finishing something by putting in something to a blank page,
Mhm.
even if it's just a word or a broken phrase or um, a very unattractive word. I mean, alam mo yun, parang di naman writer yung sumulat.
Yeah,
Ganyan.
yeah.
So, it's okay. You have to honor that part of the process because you can always go back to it and polish it and try to build onto it. And then maybe one day if it's like sabi mo kanina, like the mindset that you have, maybe at this point when you're doing it, you're not yet in that kind of mindset or you haven't realized it yet, and then one day something happens and then you realize na oops, parang ito pala yung message na gusto kong sabihin, and
Mhm.
then you will be able to do something really really beautiful. It's a discovery, it's self-discovery.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I agree. For those who want to get a copy of the comic, where can they get it?
Yeah, it's available only through our website.
Okay.
Just go onto our Facebook page. You can also
Just
order
right
through
here.
that.
Yeah. I will
Yes,
put these in the show
just
notes for sure.
thank you so much, CJ. They can check out our Facebook or Instagram page, and they can also send a direct message, private message to the page.
All
Yeah,
right. Awesome. And these are also for Facebook, Twitter, and X, although I still prefer to call it Twitter, not X. These will be also the same URLs
yeah,
where they can get to know more about you and what's going on social
yeah.
media, right?
That's right. That's right.
All right,
Yeah,
perfect. So that is it. That is a wrap for today. I've taken so much of your time, but the talk regarding creativity and authenticity and individuality never really stops, and it should never really end or be confined to just simply within Pride Month, because pride is life. Okay, if you don't take pride in who you are and in what you do, por qué?
mhm.
Diba? That's really, the bottom line for, as it is. Thank you, Rial, for joining us on this episode. I wish you all the best in your future writing endeavors, creative
Thank you, CJ.
endeavors, film projects, and also probably, maybe as you alluded to in this bio that you sent us, maybe a film, an animated version of the comic.
Yeah,
Yay!
I've already announced we're developing the Fantabulous Badingerzi as yeah, that's the title of the movie. It's going to be a rotoscope animation
Mm,
movie. My producers are Christine De Leon and the director of Itima Pukpukaw, si Carl Papa. He's producing the movie with me.
cool. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's too early to say, but is the storyline a direct adaptation of the comic, or
Yes.
it's
Yes.
a direct, okay,
Direct adaptation.
adaptation? All right.
Yeah.
We can't wait for that. We can't wait for. We need more stories
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
As representation and fuel for our creativity. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Remember to celebrate who you are and who you've come to be. Everyone's journey is different, so do not judge until you've walked in their shoes. Now, if you are a creative, you'd like to be featured in the podcast, feel free to email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. Till the next episode, Indie Authors Unite, Indie Creatives Unite. Happy Pride, everybody. Keep creating, and we will keep reading and watching and viewing and be inspired equally by what you create. Stay safe, be creative. Namaste. Happy Pride, everybody. Thank you, Real. That was another episode of Urban Fantasy PH. Join us next time as we feature another creative soul who wants their art to be seen, heard, and shared. If you have your own work to share, just email us at urbanfantasyph@gmail.com. For the next episode, this is independent author, singer-songwriter, radio personality, voice actor, and fellow creative, CJ Edmunds, reminding you to always listen to your heart, create with your mind, and share with your soul. Goodbye, everybody. Namaste. Blessed be.